Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Okay, so Dillian Whyte, he spoke to The Sun and went in on Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua for the failed negotiations for the summer fight between himself and Anthony Joshua. And this is what he had to say to The Sun. They're talking rubbish. I haven't turned down the fight. All I got after Eddie talked publicly and often about making me an offer to fight AJ was a very short email late in the evening on Friday, the 2nd of June. I absolutely 100% want to fight AJ and called Eddie to discuss the offer, but I couldn't get hold of him. I messaged him too. I didn't hear back from him, so I sent him an email to confirm I wanted to fight. I didn't turn down the offer or propose a counter offer. All I did was ask for normal questions on his 3-line email so-called offer. Even before I emailed, Eddie was already saying publicly that his offer was unacceptable. So why make it in the first place? It is out of order to use me to boost AJ's value in negotiations for the Wilder fight without any intention to fight me. Heavyweight boxing is an absolute mess at the moment, and bullcrap like this doesn't help. So I asked him, why would he host this event at the O2 Arena in the middle of August when most people are on holiday? He didn't respond to my email or get in touch, but carried on talking about negotiations that simply weren't happening and still haven't happened. There hasn't been a single conversation with me, my lawyer, or any of my team. I chased him up with a follow-up email on June the 13th to tell him that the offer didn't feel real and that AJ obviously didn't want the fight and was going to wait for his Saudi payday in December. I then did an interview with Sky on June the 15th, after which I got a short and weird response from Eddie saying that the numbers don't work and we should look at alternative options. Let's be very clear here. I told him I wanted to fight. I didn't turn it down. I didn't price myself out. And in fact, I've not had a single discussion about it with Matchroom since the offer, and I didn't make any demands. Dillian Whyte statement. So basically, on June the 2nd, Eddie Hearn sent a 3-line email to Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte tried to call up Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn didn't pick up the phone. So he texted Eddie Hearn, he messaged him. Eddie Hearn didn't respond. So he then emailed him back, and Eddie Hearn still didn't respond. And about 2 weeks later, Dillian Whyte is still trying to get hold of Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn just isn't responding. It isn't until he done an interview nearly 2 weeks later with Sky that Eddie Hearn just said the numbers don't work and we're going to move on. So there's no negotiations, despite the fact that Eddie Hearn has done 101 interviews with different outlets saying that we are negotiating with Dillian Whyte for Anthony Joshua. Well, it sounds like there was no negotiations. There was a 3-line email that went off when Eddie Hearn even said publicly it's not a very good offer. So obviously Dillian Whyte is going to question the offer. He's going to negotiate it. There's no talk of a 10 million. There's no talk of anything like that. They didn't even get to that point. So why has Eddie Hearn been talking about negotiating when he wasn't even responding to Dillian Whyte? Now, that doesn't surprise me. That's pretty much Eddie Hearn all over. I know this firsthand for a fact, that unless your name is Anthony Joshua or Canelo Alvarez, Eddie Hearn does not get back to you. He doesn't. And if he does, it might be a 1 or 2 word reply. That's pretty much Eddie Hearn, and that's fine. Okay, he's very, very busy. But that's why you have a team. You have Matchroom Sport and, of course, the branch of Matchroom Boxing. You have people who can respond. You can delegate, and that's what Eddie Hearn does for the most part. So basically, it's like a deja vu, really, if you all cast your minds back to when Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte were negotiating a few years ago now, and they ended up signing to fight Big Baby Jarrell Miller instead of Dillian Whyte, where people were saying how Dillian Whyte, he turned down multi-millions and all that kind of stuff. And of course, when I'd done the podcast and interview with Dillian, if you haven't seen it, by the way, just go check it out. Just go look at when the timeline was, and I did a interview with Dillian Whyte while he was negotiating with Anthony Joshua. And during that podcast, he said, he ain't going to fight me. The plan was never to fight me. I'm telling you right now, he's going to go fight Big Baby Jarrell Miller in America. That's been the plan for a long time. They're wasting my time and everybody else's time. He don't want to fight me. And about a week or 2 later, that's what happened. Of course, that fight fell apart with Big Baby Jarrell Miller. So it just seems like it's a whole deja vu kind of thing where really they're going to fight somebody else, but pretend that they're going to fight Dillian Whyte. That's what it seems like. And the fact that Eddie Hearn can't even get back to the man is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Why can't you just pick up the phone? You can see you got missed calls from him, so pick up the phone, call him back. You can see you've got text messages from him, respond. You can see you've got emails from him, respond for this so-called negotiation. I mean, I don't get why they've done that. Why even approach him if you're not going to fight him? For what? I mean, if you look at it from Dillian Whyte's perspective here, okay? Listen, okay? I'm not defending Dillian here, but these are the facts. When Dillian Whyte fought Jermaine Franklin, Anthony Joshua was ringside. Eddie Hearn was saying that the winner of this fight will fight Anthony Joshua next. That's what he was saying. But Anthony Joshua ended up fighting the loser of that fight in Jermaine Franklin. So between Dillian Whyte defeating Jermaine Franklin, he was waiting, thinking he's going to fight Anthony Joshua next. But then they pulled the rug from under him and ended up fighting Jermaine Franklin. Then he fights Jermaine Franklin, he gets that win. Dillian Whyte, he's being told publicly that Dillian Whyte will be next, but clearly he's not. He's been led on by Eddie Hearn now. And this is what I said a couple of months ago now, that Dillian Whyte just needs to pack his bags and leave. Because he's always going to be second fiddle to Anthony Joshua, rightfully so, however, okay? But Eddie Hearn has nothing for him. He doesn't want anything for him. Take the hint, go home, go speak to Queensbury, go speak with Boxer, go speak with PBC, go speak with Top Rank, go speak with whoever. Because he's been wasting his time and having his time wasted when Eddie Hearn has nothing for him, other than maybe a third fight with Derek Chisora. Ain't nobody out there wants to see a third fight with Derek Chisora. Come on, man. Of all the fighters out there, why is it that Eddie Hearn couldn't say, well, maybe we can have Dillian Whyte versus Filip Hrgović. Maybe we can have Dillian Whyte versus Dempsey McKean. Maybe we can have Filip Hrgović against this fighter, that fighter, however. But it's either, well, maybe Anthony Joshua, if not, maybe a Derek Chisora trilogy. It's ridiculous, though, isn't it? It is ridiculous. But, hey, at the end of the day, this is boxing. This is boxing business. If you want loyalty, get a dog. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I mean, it's been messed around before when it comes to Eddie Hearn and that, and this should be the final straw now. It should be the final straw. He's been waiting for a fight for a long time, living on promises that just weren't happening. Just weren't happening at all. So, in some ways, Dillian Whyte should know better. And, he should have picked up his ball and went home and looked elsewhere. He had other options out there. Potentially, he could have fought Daniel Dubois. I don't quite know why that fight fell apart. I don't know. I can only presume that Frank Warren wanted to sign him under a contract. Dillian Whyte isn't contracted to any promoter. Doesn't want to be contracted to any promoter. But if I'm Dillian Whyte, I'm calling up the Saudis. What you got for me? Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe. And I'll catch you all on the next video.